almost 3 years since millions of us raised our hands and voices to say Me Too.
Since then, we've seen incredible strides and experienced some amazing wins. We've also learned that we have so much farther to go to bring about the change we need to see.
We launched the Survivors Agenda to center what survivors in this country care about so we can build the kind of world we all deserve.
As a survivor and an attorney who has dedicated my career to seeking justice, the thing that I most want to see is institutions take survivors seriously and develop the systems that allow for justice and for healing.
As a survivor, the things that I care about most are ensuring that all survivors are heard and supported, no matter their zip code, immigration status, ethnicity, or any other reason.
There's power in our numbers, and an end to sexual violence needs all of us.
We are resourceful, resilient, and ready.
Hi, I'm Alicia J.
And I'm Nikita Mitchell. We are so thrilled to welcome you to the Survivors Summit, day one. We are here, y'all. This summit is a love offering, a safe and brave space for those who have experienced sexual violence, survivors like ourselves, and those committed to survivor justice. Welcome, y'all.
We're going to start our journey here with a bit of collective breath so that we can all arrive in this space together.
I want you to take a moment as we're getting ready to do some breath work to find a comfortable spot for you, whether that be sitting up or laying down, whatever feels comfortable. And we're doing this breath practice to get into this moment, into this space, and also to feel into our bodies. And so we're gonna breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release for 4, and then hold for 4. We're gonna do that one time. Ready? Okay. Breathing in. Hold. Release. Hold. Okay, coming back. Hopefully that felt good for y'all, like that felt good for us. So let's hop into the conversation, y'all.
I needed that for one.
Me too, trust me.
So we have spent the last 6 months talking to survivors all across the country to hear about the things that you care about and the change that you want to see, and some ideas about how we actually get there.
We have brought together community organizations, direct service providers, and you to build a magical survivors agenda.
The agenda covers a lot of stuff. It covers workers' rights and education and community safety. There's a lot in there. But most importantly, it is about what we are calling for and what we will no longer stay silent about.
And we're just getting started. We're just getting started. If we know nothing more than what we know, is that survivors are everywhere. We are everywhere. We are essential workers. We are parents. We are family members. We know what we need in order to live into a better world. And so this agenda is just one example. It is a living and breathing document. And the invitation over the next 3 days is for you to actually bring to this conversation what's on your agenda. What matters to you in terms of education? What matters to you in terms of work? What matters to you in terms of the culture that we live in? This space is for you to help make history.
And we have a good lineup of speakers. Like, we got a lot of people who are going to be sharing their experience and their expertise over decades of work that they've been doing. We've got healing justice. We're going to talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what it means to build a powerful movement of survivors, a movement that is for all of us, by all of us.
Absolutely. And on that point, we want to make sure that this space is one that we can feel brave in, where we can feel courageous in. And that includes all of us that includes our Black, Indigenous, and survivors of color family. This includes our family that are disabled, immigrant survivors, trans and gender nonconforming survivors. We want to make sure that this is a space that is affirming, that we see you and we see your experience. So thank you for stepping into the commitment of making that space possible.
And thank you for being here with us. We know that you could spend your time in a lot of different ways right now. Things are not easy, and we are so appreciative that you decided to bring your resilience and your courage here with us today.
Thank you for bringing your joy, your fear, your questions, your answers, your rage. All of that matters. All of that matters. And if you feel triggered, feel like, ooh, something ain't sitting right, we encourage you to take care of yourself. We have a self-care page on the survivorsagenda.org. Again, survivorsagenda.org website with exercises and resources. If you need a little bit of support, please step out and come back in a way that works best for you.
And now, Nikita and I are thrilled to welcome you to the Survivor Summit.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello, and Talaso Komati, all my relations. My name is Pete Vargas. I'm a longtime Indigenous rights and community organizer, as well as the organizing director for the Rock United Michigan chapter. The Restaurant Opportunity Center, commonly known as Rock United, is a nonprofit organization fighting to improve wages and working conditions for the nation's restaurant workforce. Founded after September 11, 2001 as a worker relief center for affected restaurant workers and their families, Rock United has grown into a national organization activating thousands of restaurant workers, employers, allies, and consumers. I would like to thank the committee and all of you attending the Survivors Agenda for taking the time to acknowledge the occupied land that we are all dwelling on. I'm coming to you from Michigan, the ancestral land of the Anishinaabeg, also known as the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi. Bonjour! Common greeting in Ojibwe language here, but also say Talaso, thank you to my northern brothers and sisters that over the years have become my family and have come to know and be welcomed as extended family as we continue to break down mental and physical borders that have separated northern and southern Indigenous communities with walls and borders for far too long. Much learning and healing is happening, yet with Indigenous babies and young children still in cages, separated from their families, there will be much work in front of us. Keep them in your prayers and in your fights. It is always important to recognize our brothers and sisters who since time began, according to our respective creation stories and directives of our elders, have a generational task to take care of the land and the language and to continue to grow mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. We too have experienced trauma in all its forms as a result of this responsibility. We too are survivors. Whether by force or famine over the last 500 years, colonialism and settlement have occurred. Now we are experiencing a pandemic health crisis compounded by a race war and unprecedented unemployment. We know all too well that Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities are always disproportionately affected. But something beautiful is also happening as a result of this. The BIPOC community, Black and Indigenous people of color, are fighting back against these attacks on our communities, side by side. We recognize that lifting up Black lives and Black voices does not mean that police brutality inflicted upon Indigenous communities is any less crucial to address. It does not mean that our struggles are any less important. In fact, standing in solidarity and supporting Black lives and voices addresses the root causes of that brutality, systemic racism, and white supremacy. Dismantling these systems is the work in front of us together. This is how our healing starts. So again, thank you for taking the time to allow me in your space. I wish you a blessed and beautiful event. Talaso Chimigwech.
It's a routine. Every day, and they don't even realize. Insanity. No new result. The same act reenacts itself. Look. It's happening again. Nothing can be seen until it's switched up. Things switch up. Lights up. Curtains rise, audience silent, audience sighs, no applause. I am nothing more than a device, never used at my fullest potential. I wish I could move. I never asked to be bought or brought here. It's funny how a living room could turn into a stadium in seconds. How much fires could be started from a boxing match in living rooms when he becomes Mayweather. How limbs are punching bag. I feel like if I could do something, if only I could move. Because love isn't supposed to be this dirty, this violent. They say lightning doesn't strike the same place twice yet. Her body is a power pole. She's still in shock that he struck her again. I watch in despair. Doors shut like my mouth. I watch him say, shh, to the secrets as she still finds a way to love him. When last you see a woman get slapped silly, shut silent, say shh, to the secrets as she still finds a way to love him. Some women work way harder than I do. After I do, some women work way harder than a fridge. Always open, always running, ready for anything. Inside's cold as if she's prepared for her death since creation. This fridge leaks water. This fridge wept again. I watch him treat her just like he treats me. An appliance. To be used, misused, abused, and replaced with warranty, 30-day money-back guarantee. And I get jealous. It's a routine. Because it's obvious when someone sweeps you off your feet, you have to land somewhere. Because appliances are never taught anything other than to clean up the reckless acts of humans. Because there's nothing I can do if I can't be moved outside of being shaken body slam into me. But I'm not a body. I can't heal like they do. Yet I have to stand here and watch them break everything into pieces. Watch them break themselves as if the human body was made of ceramic, but I watch. I listen. I take impacts like walls. I hate how impact sounds. I am not just an appliance propped in a corner of a room, but worse. I am a widget turned witness. I am the embodiment of silence. I am the public. I can still turn a blind eye, but we still can't look away from domestic violence. Like if it's none of our business. Society says, turn the left cheek, turn the right cheek, uppercut, pretend not to see. But this is routine. Lights down, curtains close, audience applause. How?
Hi, my name is Tarana Burke, and I'd like to welcome you to the Survivor Summit. You know, watching the last few years unfold following the explosion of the Me Too movement into the mainstream has made one thing painfully clear. Mainstream America is fundamentally disconnected from the material lives of survivors of sexual violence. And that's evidenced by the backlash to the viral hashtag and the swift efforts to politicize this issue. This summit is about changing that reality and shifting the narrative so that the world can start to understand that survivors are a force. We are a power base. And what better way to do that than by being in community and setting a collective agenda for the future that will drive the change that we want to see and that is right for us, made by us. And what better time than now? 2020 has been a year of so much pain and loss, but it has also been a year of uprising. In fact, the way that so many of us have been able to deal with the deep pain and losses is by standing in our truth and raising our voices, just like Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg did throughout her life. We could not kick off this historic summit without naming the loss of Justice Ginsburg, who for many was an iconic hero for women's rights and human rights. But ultimately, she stood up for what was just. I met her in 2018 at the premiere of the documentary about her life, and I was so struck by her small stature in real life, in person. It just reinforced for me, though, what I already know about being small but mighty. Sometimes it feels like we are small in number, but we are always mighty in this work as long as we are doing it together. 2 years ago, survivors gathered, marched, made calls, shared stories, all in community. We showed up during the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh. We showed up in support of Christine Blasey Ford. We showed up for each other and for justice and for this court. So we could also not kick off this summit without naming that right now, all of that is on the line. And we need survivors to gather again, this time in support of the fabric of this country. So over the next 3 days, as we are in deep learning, as we are naming our collective agenda, as we are dreaming of a different future, please know that we must also take on the Supreme Court. We must take on our democracy. Thank you for being in community with us. I am so proud of this offering, and I know we can count on all of you to join us for this next fight. And now, I'm pleased to introduce my comrades and sisters in the struggle, Fatima Gosgraves and Monica Ramirez, to begin the opening plenary. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Monica Ramirez, and I am the founder and president of Justice for Migrant Women. I'm also one of the co-conveners of the Survivor Summit, and we are so thrilled that you are all here with us. Why did we create the Survivor Summit? We created the Survivor Summit because we know that survivors have the answers. We believe that political leaders have a responsibility to drive change that matches the energy of the movement. We also understand that it is time for survivors to come together to create the vision for the world without violence. In the lead up to the 3rd anniversary of the Me Too movement, we are heartened by the continued outpouring of support, love, and leadership of survivors and allies.
I'm Fatima Gosgraves. I'm president of the National Women's Law Center. So we came together because we wanted to center the power of survivors as a political bloc to be taken seriously. Sexual violence shows up in every quarter, in every state, in every sector, in every community. It doesn't include or preclude someone from its wrath because of party affiliation, and millions of survivors across this country are voters, yet we haven't been taken seriously as a voting bloc. So we set out to change this, and in order to do it, we knew we had to come together to continue on our own healing journeys, but we also had to create a roadmap for change, a roadmap for healing to help us on our journeys, and a roadmap to get to the end goal of ending sexual violence.
And so how did we come together? We came together to create the Survivors Summit based on an idea that emerged as we were considering the next bold steps in the Me Too movement as we were looking toward the 2nd anniversary. First, we laid out a vision statement and a call to action through our open letter that was published in the New York Times titled "To Those Who Seek a Better World." This Survivor Summit and the Survivors Agenda were the next 2 goals that we set for ourselves in the lead up to the 2020 election. I love my squad, Tarana Burke, Ijempu, and Fatima, because when I tossed out the idea of calling together a mass convening of survivors, they did not think of the barriers. They thought about how to get it done. And it was because of that energy around this idea and the commitment to pulling together something as beautiful as this summit that we've been able to move forward with this idea, and here we are bringing it to fruition. We're committed to not only celebrating the next few days with one another as survivors who are building power, but we're also here to announce our agenda and our vision for the future.
So We are so proud of this agenda that was co-created with survivors around this country. A number of organizations lent their expertise. 1,000 people gathered together to give their information through kitchen table conversations, through town halls, through providing and showing up through a first survey of its kind. And this agenda is fulsome. It's an agenda that details the needs and solutions for survivors to feel safe in community and alternatives to the criminal legal system, naming that our solutions must actually center survivors at every point.
The Survivor Summit is anchored by the Me Too movement, Justice for Migrant Women, National Domestic Workers Alliance, and the National Women's Law Center. Many organizations have lent their expertise, wisdom, and ideas to help us shape this event and to help us co-create this agenda. You'll hear from some of them over the course of the next couple of days through panel workshops and presentations. There will also be a youth track anchored by our partners at the Me Too movement. Many, many, many people are responsible for making this summit possible and for making the agenda possible. We'd love to thank Alicia J. and a whole team of individuals who made this project possible. And it's because of them that we are all together this weekend.
So let's get to the agenda. The agenda names and details solutions for survivors to feel safe in community and alternatives to the criminal legal system. We know that survivors need solutions that protect them from immediate harm, as well as solutions to prevent the root causes of violence.
The agenda calls for a transformation of culture that centers the experiences of all survivors, a culture that doesn't tolerate or make excuses for the abuse, violence, or harassment by those in power, a culture that is supportive of survivors of sexual violence.
The agenda also calls for a meaningful shift in education to actually make it the case that students can learn with safety and with dignity, and that schools can have a chance to create communities where students can gain an education free from violence and where they can feel safe and attain the quality knowledge in schools and tools that they need to thrive.
The agenda calls for healing justice. Those who have been harmed by sexual violence should be treated with care and compassion and given access to the support and services they need and want without barriers based on money or identity.
And it's an agenda that names that sexual violence is a public health issue and calls for trauma-informed, culturally competent, linguistically appropriate, and identity-affirming healthcare that addresses both the immediate trauma and the long-term physical and mental aspects of sexual violence.
The agenda details solutions to make it possible to work with dignity, free from the threat of sexual violence, including sexual harassment. Survivors must lead and be at the center of this movement for change. Workers must be able to build power collectively and advocate for what is best for them and their loved ones.
And the agenda names that survivors deserve access to housing and transportation that is affordable, safe, reliable, and maintains their dignity and discretion. This is especially true for Black survivors and survivors of color and low-income survivors, for LGBTQ survivors, undocumented survivors, and disabled survivors.
This Survivor Summit is by and for survivors, particularly centering the experiences of survivors of color. It is for women, men, children, non-binary people, and people of all races, colors, religions, abilities, sexual orientation and preference, and for all income strata. Our movement is one that is for all of us, and our priorities can't be clearly articulated if we are not all at the table. We are inspired by the leadership of survivors across the United States and across the globe. Your courage makes us powerful. Your persistence makes us unstoppable. And your wisdom makes us stronger as we continue on this journey, personally and as a collective to create a better world, one that is safe from gender-based violence.
This is a program that centers survivors, and it is meant to provide information and tools and resources and inspiration to those of us who do the daily work of survivorship and those who seek to journey alongside us as we do this work. And so it's now our honor to introduce our first inaugural panel.
We're now thrilled to introduce our panelists, Prentice Hemphill, Brianna Braveheart, and Anita Hill.
Hi all, I feel so grateful to be a part of this first ever Survivor Summit. My name is Prentice Hemphill. I am a healing justice facilitator, a transformative justice practitioner, a somatics teacher and practitioner, and I facilitate in movement spaces, especially Black movement. My commitment over the years has been to bring trauma healing deeply into movement spaces so that we can recover our capacity and be the brilliant, connected leaders that we are intended to be. I have been the Healing Justice Director at Black Lives Matter. I am currently the founder of the Black Embodiment Initiative, and I'm the host of Finding Our Way podcast. I'm really happy to be here.
Kihani Washte, Imachiapi Makbia Sapowi. Hi, my name is Brianna Braveheart. My Lakota name is Makbia Sapawi, which is Black Cloud Woman. I'm 15 years old. I'm a 10th grader at Littlewood High School, and I'm coming to you from the Black Hills.
Hello, thank you, Monica and Fatima. I'm Anita Hill. I'm a university professor at Brandeis University. I am also an out counsel to a law firm, Cohen Milstein, Sellers and Toll, and I chair the Hollywood Commission. And I mentioned all three of my roles because I do believe that ending sexual violence has to come with complex approaches and multiple ways of thinking about the problem, whether through the legal system, through teaching and learning, or whether through policy and rulemaking with employers. And I'm really excited to be here today. I'm very excited about this agenda, and I look forward to being in conversation with my fellow panelists, Prentice and Brianna.
Thank you so much for being with us. We are just going to jump right into our conversation about why it's important to build a powerful movement for survivors. Anita, let's start with you.
Well, this is so important to me personally, and I know it speaks to a lot of survivors who are out there and who may be my age or even older, who have been waiting years for something like this summit to bring us all together. Back in 1991, after I testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, there was a wave of women who came forward, who sued, brought lawsuits, who challenged their workplace situations. But even in that moment when we saw an uptick in the public conversation, as well as in the court cases, there was a sense that people were working on their own, that we were working alone, and that there wasn't really any organizing around all of us getting together to solve the problems as a whole, taking all of our differences into account, but understanding that there were some real commonalities in our experiences. We have moved beyond that point where we were in the 90s to really better thinking about sexual violence. And it's been taught to us in our schools. I think it's been part of the public conversation, but we really didn't have that full sense of what the community was like until the Me Too movement, a hashtag social media movement in 2017. That really has galvanized us. And now I think what you see today and what this summit represents is that coming together and understanding that we have to deal with policies. We've got to demand resources from our government, and we have to be seen as a political force in order to reach our full potential. And so I'm really excited about what we're doing today. And in my experience, there has not ever been anything like this.
Thank you so much, Anita, for your answer and for all of your leadership. Brianna, we'd love to hear from you. Why do you believe it's important for survivors to build a powerful movement?
I feel it's important because as a youth, I am surviving MMIW, which is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And I was at the Standing Rock movement, and there were 19 women who were sexually abused and who were violated. And I had went to a homeschooling there, and one of my teachers had to walk me to and from my camp because she was worried that I was gonna get violated or something terrible was gonna happen. And I think it's important that we speak about this because it's not really talked about. And as a youth, you know, I'm even scared to take out the trash sometimes because I worry about, you know, getting kidnapped or something happening.
Thank you, Brianna, for all of your important work. And Prentice, why is it important in your mind that we build a powerful movement for survivors?
I think it's important, and I'm answering this question both as a practitioner, a healing practitioner, but also as a survivor myself of sexual assault. And I think it's so important because it connects so many of us. And it also is a way for us to tell the truth about what really happens in our workspaces, what really happens inside of our communities, what happens in our home. And I think for that reason, because it impacts so many of us, to build a movement, it could be one of the most significant movements, and it has been one of the most significant movements we've ever seen. And I think it has the potential to really reshape our cultural spaces, reshape our intimate spaces, to allow for authentic relationship, allow for boundaries, allow for healing. A movement really has the potential to do some deep work to really reshape who we can be together and what our relationships with each other and with our communities can be. So for that reason, I think it's really critical that we do this work now.
So when we were creating this agenda with survivors around this country, we were really intentional of thinking about who was at the table and who do we need to take extra steps to reach out to. I'm hoping to start with you, Prentice, about who is often left out of the conversations about survivors that we should be centering, or what are the sorts of issues that you think it's especially important right now for us to shed light on?
Thank you for that question. I think the movement, it's really necessary that we do this, what you're talking about, that we start to look to the other folks who have experienced this. And I think oftentimes non-binary people, gender non-conforming people, trans people, disabled people, migrant workers, and all the ways that we disappear the experiences of Black and Brown people also. I think those people's stories are often not at the forefront because we disappear those folks' stories in general. Also the stories of men, also the stories of cisgendered men too, around their experiences of sexual violence. And I think that as the movement starts to create more space for those stories to come to the forefront, the potential to eliminate the experiences of shame that kind of shape our inability to speak to our own experiences, the ability for the movement to grow and become more nuanced and clear about what it is that we are working to end. I think those are some of the places that it's going to be really important to look and shine some light on, so that the movement continues to grow and grow with a relevance and a truth-telling power and potential that it has. And I think just to your question, pose a kind of brief point, is that I think it's really important to begin to answer the question of what do we do? And Ms. Hill at the top spoke about the need to have a multi-pronged approach. And I think being able to have some strategy or clarity around what it means to heal. What do we do about the harm in our communities when so much harm happens in our kind of close quarters, in our communities and in our homes? The question of what do we do is a really important one to begin to dig into.
Thank you, Prentice. Brianna, I have the same question for you. Who do we need to center? And what are the issues that you think are particularly important that we name right now?
Well, I think it's important that we center young Indigenous youth and women because they're not really talked about, and you know, most young Indigenous women aren't really vocal about, or they don't really talk about their stories because they're shamed on for maybe the incident that happened. And as a cheerleader, you know, I am confident to wear my uniform at school, but in public, I know I wouldn't really be confident because of catcalling and abduction.
Thank you, Brianna. Anita, I would love to hear your thoughts about who to center and what are the issues that we really need to make visible.
Well, Prentice and Brianna did such a wonderful job of really articulating who gets erased and who gets disappeared from this conversation. I'm going to take a little bit different approach, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why is it that people are being disappeared. And there's some very obvious and specific reasons. We live in a society that is ageist, that is where age discrimination exists and bias exists, and therefore we don't talk about the experiences, or don't even in many instances include the experience of sexual violence against the elderly. We live in a country that is racist, and where elements of racism and society pervade just about every part of our living. We're just now realizing that, I mean, in very, very graphic ways, with the violence against George Floyd and Breonna Taylor this year, as well as the COVID pandemic. So when we think about who is missing, we need to think about what is causing us to be disappeared, and race is one of them. So you don't hear the story of racial minorities. You don't hear intersectional stories of the kind of responses that are happening to people who experience sexual abuse, where their integrity is questioned because of their identity. And finally, we live in a society that is trans and homophobic. And it's stifling our conversations about men because we adhere to the myth that real men know how to handle sexual assault and sexual aggression. And that really comes from a sense of homophobia, a feeling, sentiments of homophobia that exist throughout our society. So that rather than deal with what is behind us, not hearing the stories, we just pretend they don't exist. And so I really believe that we want to bring those voices to the front. We want, and I could go on about ableism. I was at an event in December, and this African American woman came. She has a disability, had raised claims of sexual harassment in her workplace. She wasn't taken seriously. And it's who knows whether it was because of her race or her disability, or whether it was the myth that we have around sexual harassment, that it is about sexual attraction as opposed to abusive and violative behavior. And so we could go on and on about the people who are missing, but if we really want to understand the people who are missing, we have to understand the biases that live throughout our culture. And so we need to bring people forward, bring their voices forward, but we have to look behind their stories and look at what the root cause of their erasure is.
Well, thank you guys, because it's clear our truth telling, our solutions will not be what they need to be if we don't understand who is not here and the reason that they're not here.
Thank you all so much for your powerful responses and for joining us here today for this inaugural summit. We're grateful to each of you for all of the insight and wisdom that you've brought to the conversation. And we'd love to hear from you on some of your closing thoughts for those who are tuning in. Brianna, what is some advice that you have for people who would like to get involved to help make change to address this issue of sexual violence?
Well, I wanted to talk about the Sacagawea and Pocahontas. They were 15 years old, and I'm 15 years old, and they were raped and abducted by white men. And not very many people know about that. And women, Indigenous women are 3 times more likely to be raped. The reason why I brought up Pocahontas and Sacagawea was because they were the very first young Indigenous women to experience MMIW. And I want to encourage all young women or all women of all cultures to bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women. And one of my friends, actually, she went missing, and I played on a volleyball team with her since I was in 5th grade, and she still hasn't been found.
Prentice, what are your thoughts? Why is it important to build a powerful movement of survivors of sexual violence?
Thank you for that question. I feel like organizing and movement building can be deeply healing practices. And part of healing, part of what it takes to heal, is the restoration of our safety, our sense of safety, our sense of belonging, and our sense of dignity, which can be done through the ways that we take action in the world and change the conditions that we're all living in. So I think this work that you all are doing, this summit and these opportunities for engagement, could actually really be a part of a healing trajectory. If we're able to make larger meaning from our stories and take action that changes things, it can be deeply affirming. I also feel that in general, we have, this is a moment of a lot of activity, a lot of action, a lot of movement building. And really all of our movements could do with a deeper analysis of sexual violence and the ways that it permeates our movement spaces, as Brianna was speaking to earlier, and it permeates our kind of the culture we bring to spaces too. So the potential for this movement in spaces like this is to transform what already exists. So as we're taking this action, as we're changing conditions, to actually make sure that these spaces are really centered around justice and really looking for those folks and experiences that get disappeared, really reveals the way we've normalized sexual violence and refuses to tolerate it. So I think moving this agenda forward, bringing this kind of clarity to all of our movements is a deeply important effort for all of us. So I think our healing is always about safety, belonging, and dignity, being able to tell our stories, but tell our stories in a way that creates broader meaning. And I think we can do that, and we have to do that, both on the individual levels, on the community level, and on the larger societal level to make significant change.
Anita, what are your closing thoughts on how we can continue to strengthen and grow this movement to end sexual violence?
Thank you. I would just like to say that really what you have seen, what I've experienced in Brianna's words, as well as Prentice, is true bravery. I mean, it takes a lot, and I don't know that I could have done it at 15 years old, for Brianna to talk about her real fears and the situation of Native women throughout this country and throughout the history of this country. Prentice, it takes bravery to really talk about the problem of sexual violence within movements that we know exists, but we have a hard time talking about because we're fighting so many battles within our own movements and within our own communities. So I would simply say that I think the way forward is for us to be brave, to be willing to tell the truth about our experiences, to expect and get support from fellow survivors, and to find a way for each of us, in whatever way we express our survivorship, even if we express it still as victimhood, find a way for us to be our true, authentic selves and to believe that, in fact, we deserve better in this country. And we deserve the attention of policymakers who are making the rules that will shape our safety and our well-being for the future. And so I'm very thankful for this gathering. I'm thankful for this plenary that starts us off. And I am hopeful that we may not know the way forward exactly at this point, but I am very hopeful and optimistic that by the end of this summit, we will have many ways of looking forward in a positive direction that will make life better for all of us.
I'm so grateful to you, Prentice, Brianna, and Anita, for your words, your work, your wisdom, your leadership. This session was just the first session of the summit, and I already feel both inspired and fired up. I feel challenged, and I feel ready, and we hope that you feel the same. Please stay tuned for the rest of the summit and for the publication of the Survivors Agenda. We want you to read it. We want you to use it. We want to hear from you and get feedback on it. We hope it is a living document that continues to evolve as our movement and our work evolves. We hope it will be a guidepost for all of us, for political leaders, and for the public about what it will take to create a country and a world where we can all feel safe from sexual violence. So thank you for being with us, and we will see you the rest of this week.
Hey, Me Too movement. This one's for you, honey. You better love yourself, sis. Listen, I send I love you. I don't want to hear you say I love you too, Kirby. I want to hear you say I love me too. Can you practice that with me? All right, now, listen. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Say, I love you. I love me too. 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 Oh, I love me too. Say it loud and proud, baby. Hey, I love me too. Hey, listen. I love. Oh, I love me too. You better believe it, honey. I love me too. God bless you, Me Too movement. Thank you for all that you're doing. And remember, honey, I love me too.
Greetings, my name is Marsha. I'm the owner of Pi's Fitness Yoga Studio in Alexandria, Virginia. Welcome to My Body Don't Bend That Way Trauma Sensitive Yoga. I'm so excited to have you with me here today to experience this practice. Notice that today is all about you, so if I offer you something that does not serve you, there's always an alternative, so I'll offer those throughout the practice. Know that this is all about choice. When you're ready, if you're ready, bring your palms together at heart center and set your intention for today's practice. Maybe you feel comfortable closing your eyes and just shifting your focus inward for a moment. And notice your breath. Notice the breath moving evenly and intentionally throughout each part of your body. And just hold space for yourself, for your family, for your community. And know that we all have the strength to overcome any challenges that may show up in our lives. Maybe just a couple more breaths here. And when you're ready, gently lowering your hands down to your knees and maybe taking a moment to think of one person that you're grateful for today. Maybe that one person is you. Maybe it's a family member or an ancestor. And just know that today's practice is especially set aside for us survivors. Recognizing that we have everything that we need to continue to thrive in this world. And if you would like, you're welcome to flutter your eyes open. Breathing in with me. Slowly exhale, lower the right ear to your right shoulder and just notice the stretch in the left side of the neck. Inhale your head back through the center. Exhale, left ear to left shoulder and feel the stretch in the right side of the neck. Inhale your head back through the center. Exhale, right ear to right shoulder. If you would like, extend your left palm down towards the earth, left fingers reaching towards the left side of the room. Notice the difference of adding the left hand to the sequence. Go ahead and return the left hand to the left knee. Inhale your head back through the center. Exhale, lower your left ear to your left shoulder. And maybe extend the right palm down towards the earth, right fingers reaching towards the right side of the room. And notice if there's any difference, maybe none at all, of extending the right palm down. Returning the right hand down to the right knee. Breathe in with me and exhale, take your gaze over the right shoulder. Noticing that you have everything that you need to continue to thrive in this world. Inhale back through the center. Exhale, gaze over the left shoulder. Tapping into your resiliency, your ability to recenter, to reground. Inhale, back to the center. One more time each side. Exhale, gaze over the right shoulder. Inhale, back through center, and exhale, take your gaze over your left shoulder. Inhale, back through the center, and let's add our shoulders. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, lower down. 2 more times. Inhale, lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, shoulders down. 1 more. Inhale, lift your shoulders up. Exhale, lower your shoulders down towards the earth. Beautiful. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Palms come together, and exhale down through heart center, and just hold space for yourself, recognizing that you are strong enough to bring about change into this world. 1 more time. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Palms come together. Exhale down through heart center, and just tap into your intuition, that gift of being able to recognize what is best for you and what serves you in this moment. Just a couple more moments here. Gently lowering your hands down to your knees. Breathe in with me and reach your chest forward, looking up towards the sky, recognizing that the sky is the limit for each and every one of us. Exhale, round the spine, gaze down towards the core. 1 more. Inhale, press your chest forward, look up towards the sky. Exhale, round the spine, gaze down towards the core. Inhale, back through neutral. Awesome. Let's add our arms again. Inhale, float your arms up towards the sky. Listen for the change. Go ahead and plant your right palm to the right side of your mat and extend your left fingers over towards the right side of the room. Maybe taking your gaze up towards the sky. Maybe taking the gaze down towards the earth. On the next inhale, float the right arm back up. Plant the left palm to the left side and reach the right fingers towards the left side of the room. And remember, you have options. You can look down towards the mat, or maybe up towards the sky. Inhale, float the left arm up. 1 more time each side. Plant the right palm. Reach the left fingers towards the right side of the room, and maybe lowering down to the right elbow. Reaching the left fingers over just a little bit more. Gaze up towards the sky, or gaze down towards the earth. Engage the core. Inhale, float the right arm up. Plant the left palm and maybe lower down to the left forearm, extending the right fingers towards the left side of the room, and look up towards the sky, or take your gaze down towards the earth. Inhale, float your left arm up. Palms come together. Exhale down through heart center. Maybe closing your eyes, taking a moment to integrate all the forms that we have experienced together thus far. Lowering the shoulders down away from the ears, and gently lowering your hands to your knees, maybe fluttering your eyes open. And now we'll make a transition to a twist. Plant your right hand onto your left knee, reaching your left hand behind you, and look over the left shoulder, the crown of your head reaching for the sky. Inhale, back around towards the front. Plant your left hand onto your right knee, your right hand behind you, and look over the right shoulder, noticing that even when we feel twisted in life, we still have everything that we need to continue on the journey. Inhale, back around towards the front. One more time each side. Right hand to left knee. Left hand behind you. Look over the left shoulder. And maybe this time reaching your left arm around the back. Left fingers reaching for the right hip. And just hang on here. Notice the body releasing any tension that may be present physically, intellectually, emotionally, or spiritually. Inhale, back around towards the front. Left hand to right knee. Right hand behind you. Look over the right shoulder. And then reach the right arm around the back. Right fingers reaching for the left hip. And just settle into this form. Notice the breath moving intentionally throughout the body. Inhale, back around towards the front, planting your hands onto your knees, and we'll transition to stretching our legs together. If you're ready, extend the right leg out towards the right. Let the sole of the left foot come to the inside of the right leg. Let the right toes dorsiflex in towards your right hip. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Turn towards the right and exhale, fold over the right leg. Remember, your palms can rest on your shins or the bottom of your feet, and just allow your chin to come down towards the right knee. When you're ready, engage the core. Inhale, float the arms up and overhead. Palms come together. Exhale, down through heart center. And allow your hands to come down by your side. And we'll transition to the other side. So the left leg extends towards the left. Let the sole of the right foot come to the inside of the left leg. Your left toes dorsiflex in towards the left hip. Inhale, float the arms up and overhead. Turn towards the left and exhale, fold over the left leg. Maybe securing your fingers to the bottom of the left foot, maybe the shins, maybe even the left knee. And just breathe here. Noticing where you are in the stretch and accepting yourself for who you are and where you are in your life. On the next inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Palms come together. Exhale down through heart center and allow your hands to come back down by your side. We'll transition to our double pigeon now. So bring your left ankle on top of your right leg. You're going to stack the left knee on top of the right foot. If this does not serve you today, you're welcome to extend your right leg out in front of you, resting the left ankle on top of the right quadricep. It's all about you today. It's your choice. If you're going to come back with me, go ahead and bring that right leg underneath, stacking the left knee on top of the right foot. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Palms face forward and exhale, fold forward. And I invite you to surrender into this form, to just know that you are worthy of all of your blessings, that you are amazing beyond measure, that you have the strength to bring about change in this world. On the next inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Exhale, lower your arms down by your side. And we'll go to the other side. So go ahead and shift, bringing the left leg back down to your mat, bringing the right ankle on top of the left, stacking the right knee on top of the left foot. And when you're ready, inhale, float your arms up, palms face forward, and exhale, fold forward, allowing the forehead to come down towards the top shin. And recall that you are resilient, that your voice is very important, that you deserve to be seen and heard, and that you are here to bring about change in this world. Inhale, lift the upper body. Exhale, float the arms down by your side. And let's go ahead and lower the right leg down towards the mat. And when you're ready, take your time, there's no rush. Maybe move your legs over to the side and transition with me to hands and knees. So go ahead and plant your palms onto the earth, stacking your shoulders over your wrist, stacking your hips over your knees. Your middle fingers are going to reach the top edge of your mat. On the inhale, press your chest forward, lowering your core down towards the earth, tailbone reaching up towards the sky. Exhale, round the spine, gaze towards the core. Inhale, take the gaze up, lowering the core down towards the earth, the tailbone reaching up towards the sky, and just settle into this form, knowing that you are powerful beyond measure. Go ahead and exhale, round the spine, gaze towards the core. Take a moment just to surrender. Inhale, back to center. Take the gaze over the right shoulder and look towards the right hip. Inhale, back to the center. Exhale, take the gaze over the left shoulder towards the left hip. Inhale, back to the center. One more time each side. Gaze over the right shoulder towards the right hip. Remember, sometimes in life we may look backwards, but we still have the endurance to continue on the journey. Inhale, back towards the center. Exhale, gaze over left shoulder towards left hip. Recall that you are all that is needed to bring about change into this world. Inhale, back to the center. And now we'll transition to child's pose. Allow your knees to come to the outside edge of your mat. Extending your arms out in front of you, pressing your hips back. Maybe they'll connect with your heels, maybe not. Maybe lowering your forehead down towards the mat. And this pose is the opportunity of wisdom to recognize that you are wise beyond measure, that you are built to be able to overcome any oppression that's set up against those that may find it challenging in this world, but you have what it takes to do your own self-study, to build relationships, to tap into your resiliency in order to offer compassionate action towards yourself and your fellow community members. So settle maybe a little deeper into this posture. Take this time to formulate your plan to bring about change in this world. And when you're ready, planting your palms into the earth, slowly, intentionally bringing the physical body back into table pose. Palms connecting with the mat, middle fingers reaching towards the top edge of your mat. Your hips are stacked over your knees, the top of your feet connecting to the earth. And when you're ready, go ahead and press your toes into the mat. And on the exhale, press the hips up into the air, into downward facing dog. And go ahead and pedal your legs out, alternating each knee down towards the earth. And then find stillness in your downward facing dog. Feel your palms connecting to the earth. Feel your heels rooted down into your mat as well. Pressing your chest back towards your quadriceps, and just notice how restful this pose is. Know that there's times in life when we just simply need to rest, to regroup, to recenter ourselves. And when you're ready, go ahead and walk peacefully, your palms back towards your feet. allowing your forehead to come down towards the knees. And now hold on to opposite elbows, right hand to left elbow, left hand to right elbow. Let your head hang down heavy and just surrender into this pose and regain your strength to make change in this world. Maybe rocking side to side, taking time for you, creating space for self-care. Inhale back through the center. Maybe just settle here a couple more breaths. Gently release your elbows, bend your knees, sweep your arms out to the side and reach up towards the sky. Bringing your palms together, pressing your hips forward, look up towards the sky. And maybe open your arms into goddess arms. And just open your heart towards the sky, knowing that you are here to make a change. Inhale back up through center, palms come together. Exhale down through heart center. Allow your arms to rest by your side, palms face forward. Maybe closing your eyes in Tadasana, our mountain pose where we notice our feet connected to the earth, representing our support, the root chakra. And then notice the crown of your head reaching towards the sky, knowing that everything is possible. Just 2 more breaths here to integrate our practice. Gently flutter your eyes open. Bring your hands to your hips. Step your right foot forward. Float your arms back up and overhead. Palms come together. Interlace your fingers. Release your pointer fingers. Bring your arms by your ears. Breathe in with me. And slowly exhale, hinge forward. Reaching your fingers beyond the right big toe. Allowing your forehead to come down towards the right knee. And just hang out here. Engage the core. Reach your fingers out in front. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, your arms back down by your side. Bringing your hands to your hips, and go ahead and step the right foot back towards the left. And we'll do this on the opposite side. Step the left foot forward. Hands on your hips, finding stability in your feet. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Palms come together. Interlace your fingers. Release the pointer fingers. Breathe in with me. And slowly take your time. It's all about you. Exhale, full forward. Reaching your fingers beyond the left big toe. And just hang out here for a couple breaths. And when you're ready, engage the core. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, lower your arms down, bringing your hands to your hips, planting through the right foot, and step the left foot back by the right. And then return your hands by your side, palms face forward, back into Tadasana. When you're ready, take a moment for you. Let's move into the center of our mat, preparing for our first balance pose. Rikshasana, tree pose. Plant through the right foot. Let the left heel come to the inside of the right leg. This may be where you are today, and that's perfectly okay. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead, palms reaching up towards the sky. Maybe slide the left foot up the right leg, your left knee pointing towards the left. Bring the palms together. Exhale down through heart center. And release left foot by right, arms by your side, palms facing forward. Plant through the left foot. Let the right heel come to the inside of the left leg. When you're ready, inhale, float the arms up and overhead. And maybe slide the right foot up the left leg. Right knee pointing towards the right. Beautiful. Bring the palms together. Exhale down through heart center. Release right foot by left, arms by your side. Just like in life, we have multiple opportunities, so we'll do this together. One more time, plant through your right foot. Let the left heel come to the inside. Float the arms up and overhead. Slide the left foot up the right leg. Maybe create goddess arms and take a slight back bend. Inhale back up, palms together. Exhale down through heart center and release. Left foot by right, arms by your side. We only have one more side. We're gonna make it together. Plant through the left foot. Let your right heel come to the inside of the left leg. Inhale, float the arms up and overhead. If you feel comfortable, slide the right foot up the left leg. Maybe create those goddess arms. Maybe take a slight shift and gaze up towards the sky. Maybe a little bit more pronounced. Inhale back up, palms together. Exhale down through heart center. Release the right foot by the left, arms by your side, palms face forward, and just settle into this final Tadasana. And just know that you have everything that you need. 2 more breaths here. And when you're ready, meet me in the center of your mat. Inhale, float your arms up and overhead. Palms come together. Exhale down through heart center. And exhale, take a bow. Honoring yourself and your ancestors. Gently lowering your hands down towards the earth. Maybe your fingers come in line with your toes. Maybe create a slight bend in the knees, planting the palms onto the earth. Step the left foot back, lower to the left knee. Step the right knee back to meet the left. And when you're ready, shift to your left hip and lower down, preparing for our final resting pose. So maybe you'll meet me in a seated position as we started the class, this session, or maybe you'll lay on your back. It's totally up to you. If you would like, bring your palms together at heart center and just set your intention for the rest of today. Closing your eyes, holding space for those that have been with you on your journey. Maybe you've decided to lay on your back today, and that's perfectly okay. It truly is about you. We'll take these final moments together to allow the body to renew itself. So maybe you want to join me if you're in a seated position by lowering your hands down towards your knees and maybe taking a mudra, your thumb to point a finger on each hand, and just feel the connection. Notice your heart beating. Notice your strength just radiating throughout each part of your body. Tap into your place of awesomeness. That place that demands that you are heard and seen, that your voice matters, and shaping the message that's necessary to change this world, to create a place that's safe and inclusive for all beings. What is your purpose in this life? How are you serving yourself? How are you serving others? If you're lying down, gently add movement to your fingers and your wrist, your toes and your ankles. And gently bring your knees in towards your chest if you're coming from a supine position on your back, and wrap your arms around your legs, rocking side to side.
and gently roll to one side or the other and maybe pause for a moment. And then when you're ready, gently making your way up to a seated position and maybe crossing your legs or extending them out in front of you, whatever works best for you today. And I invite everyone to bring your palms back together at heart center. And let's just hold space for each other to know that as survivors that we have the resiliency to continue to thrive in this world, that we are connected beyond measure, that we are exactly in the position to bring about change into this world. Today has been an awesome experience for us to connect with each other, to bring about change in this world, and it's truly been my pleasure to serve you. I hope that today has been exactly what you're in need of. Until we meet again, namaste.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Terrell, and I'm the communication strategist for Me Too International. Thank you everyone for attending day one of the Survivor Summit.
And my name is Flannery Houston. I am the Director of Programs with RISE. It's been a wonderful first day of events, and we have had an inspiring plenary of speakers. Fatima Goss-Graves, President and CEO, National Women's Law Center. Monica Ramirez, Founder and President, Justice for Migrant Women. Anita Hill, Brandeis Professor and Chair, Hollywood Commission. Brianna Braveheart, Youth Indigenous Activist. Prentice Hemphill, Founder, Black Embodiment Initiative.
Now, if you felt inspired by what you saw and heard today, please come back tomorrow where we'll discuss an array of topics, including sexual harassment in the workplace, Me Too in schools, race and restorative justice, survivor-led doulas, and the importance of including people living with disabilities in our movement.
So on behalf of the Survivors Agenda, we thank you for attending and hope to see you tomorrow.
And remember, imagining a world without violence doesn't have to be a figment of our imagination. It's a reality that we can create with our collective power. Thank you and good night.
A stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for real glory. The sharpest words wanna cut me down. Gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another ride. sharpest words wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.